usually when we talk about reaching like the absolute peak of human experience.
Right, like those really transcendent moments.
Yeah, exactly. Those rare moments of pure joy or genius. We kind of assume the path to get there is entirely different from the path we take to, say, survive a Tuesday afternoon at the office.
Oh, for sure. We think enlightenment for the mountaintop and, stress management is for the boardroom.
Right. But what if those two worlds are actually governed by the exact same rule? So today we're doing a deep dive into a short but incredibly dense philosophical essay,
Yeah, it's from June 2024 by a writer named Xu Feng.
translated by Kinyu, and the title pretty much lays it all out. It's called Selflessness is the Advanced State of Life. And our mission today is to explore this remarkably bold claim it makes about how we basically operate in the world.
But before we get into the actual mechanics of that claim, we really need to set a crucial ground rule for you listening.
Yeah, good point.
We are exploring a text that touches on some deep spiritual, philosophical, and, potentially religious concepts. It includes references to the Elysium world and the teachings of Buddha.
Right.
And we just want to be super clear that we aren't endorsing these viewpoints or presenting them as absolute truth. Our mission is simply to act as your guides, impartially unpacking these fascinating ideas in the source material so you can weigh them for yourself.
Exactly. We're just here to look at the ideas. And the central question we're exploring today is, it's a really strange pairing.
It really is.
Like, what if the key to the ultimate peak experience of life and the secret to dealing with your most annoying credit-stealing coworker are actually the exact same thing?
Which just seems like a ridiculous connection to make, right?
Yeah.
But the core concept here connects the absolute highest spheres of human achievement with the most mundane, frustrating parts of your daily life.
And we get thrown straight into the deep end right at the start. There's this brain-bending paradox.
Yeah, the premise is that the true self is found in selflessness.
Right.
So only through selflessness can the self be achieved.
Which, on the surface, that sounds like a riddle. Like, how do you find yourself by losing yourself?
It's counterintuitive.
It is. I kept coming back to this analogy of trying to fall asleep.
Oh, that's a good one.
You know, when you are lying in bed, tossing and turning, and you keep telling yourself, I need to sleep, I have to sleep right now.
And the harder you try, the more awake you are.
Exactly. Your awareness of yourself trying to sleep is the exact thing keeping you awake. It's only when you completely stop trying.
When you forget that you are a person trying to sleep.
Yeah, when you forget that, that's when sleep actually happens.
And if we take that sleep analogy a step further, it maps perfectly onto the argument the essay is making.
How so?
Well, the conscious, striving ego, the self, that is constantly monitoring and calculating that, is the ultimate barrier to actually experiencing the thing you want to experience.
Okay, that makes sense.
And Xu Feng uses two very different peak experiences to verify this insight. The first one is the experience of sexual climax. During this peak of physical sensation, the text argues that a threshold is crossed. The physical scene essentially vanishes, and the individual enters a non-material or spiritual world of infinite beauty.
In that specific moment, the sense of self has long been forgotten.
Right, which begs the question, if the self is forgotten, who is actually experiencing that beauty?
Oh, wow. I see where this is going.
Yeah, the essay says it's the true self. The ego, the daily identity with all its anxieties and insecurities and boundaries, that just disappears.
All right, it drops away.
What remains to experience that profound beauty is something deeper and totally unburdened. And then the second example pulls this out of the physical realm entirely and places it in the intellectual realm.
Which is Nobel Prize winners, right?
Exactly. The text argues that any Nobel laureate must have achieved a state of selflessness to enter what's described as the spiritual light.
The spiritual light to discover the mysteries of the vast world.
Yes. Think about the mechanics of how breakthroughs actually happen. If a mathematician is staring at a chalkboard.
Or a scientist is in a lab.
Right. And they're constantly thinking, how will this research make me look? Will I get tenure? Am I smarter than my rival?
That's the ego talking.
That is the ego. That is the self getting in the way, basically eating up processing power.
Yeah, you can't focus on the math if you're focused on your tenure track.
Exactly. It's only when they lose themselves entirely in the work, when the boundary between the scientist and the equation dissolves, that true brilliance emerges.
So anyone who achieves brilliant results has to hit this state of self-forgetfulness.
Right. The true self only arrives to do the great work when the ego leaves the room.
Okay, so if the peak state, whether it's profound physical connection or a world-changing scientific discovery, if that requires losing the self, how does this philosophy change the way we actually perform tasks or interact with the world on, like, a normal Tuesday?
Well, the essay has this fascinating sequence about the art of doing things without doing them.
Right, what it calls the most exquisite thing.
Yeah, the list is really interesting. It suggests that the most exquisite swordsmanship is without a sword. The most exquisite mental method is without a mind. The most exquisite possession is non-possession.
And the most exquisite communication is Zen. Let's pause on that last one for a second.
Sure.
The most exquisite communication is Zen. What does Zen communication actually mean in practice? Because usually communication is just, it's basically two egos throwing words at each other.
That's the perfect way to frame it, honestly. Non-Zen communication is exactly that. It's two people waiting for their turn to speak.
Right, you're not even listening.
Exactly. While the other person is talking, your ego is busy formulating your brilliant response, or defending your position, or figuring out how to sound smart.
So Zen communication means stripping all of that away.
It's pure receptivity. You are listening without the filter of your own agenda. You're absorbing the other person's reality without immediately judging it through the lens of your own ego.
You communicate seamlessly because you aren't defending a boundary.
Right, and this ties directly into the text's mention of Shakyamuni Buddha.
Ah,
The no form of self is presented as the supreme guidance to enter the Elysium world.
and in this context, the Elysium world represents an ultimate state of peace, right?
Peace, freedom, and what the text calls divine blooming. When you operate without the heavy baggage of the ego, you become fluid.
I mean, I see the theory there, but I have to push back on behalf of anyone listening who works in a corporate office or like manages a team.
Okay, hit me.
Because another item on that list of exquisite things is the most exquisite management is no management.
Yes.
That sounds poetic, but how does no management actually work in the real world? Like, if I'm leading a project, I can't just sit back and let people do whatever they want.
Right, chaos would ensue.
Yeah, my team will miss every deadline and the project will crash and burn. I can't just do nothing.
It's a really natural reaction to hear no management and equate it with negligence or just apathy.
Right.
But in this philosophical framework, no management doesn't mean doing nothing. It means managing without the ego getting in the way of the natural flow of the work.
Okay, I understand removing the micromanager ego, but what if setting those conditions for success requires disciplining someone?
That's a good point.
Let's say an employee is chronically late and dragging the whole team down. How do you confront them or, I don't know, fire them without an ego? You still have to do the difficult authoritative action.
This is where the rubber meets the road. Think about how a typical manager fires someone.
Usually awkwardly.
Yeah, and usually it's laced with ego.
Yeah.
The manager feels personally disrespected by the employee's lateness.
Oh, like how dare you be late to my meeting?
Exactly. They might lecture the employee to assert dominance, or on the flip side, they might avoid the confrontation entirely because their ego is afraid of being disliked. See, no management means you still take the action, you let the person go, but you do it based solely on the objective needs of the project.
So there is no anger?
No anger, no need to dominate, no fear. You remove the friction of your own emotions. You facilitate the work so seamlessly that the necessary actions happen naturally without a clash of personalities.
So the friction in management isn't usually the work itself, it's the clash of egos,
Precisely.
which perfectly transitions into the ultimate stress test. Taking this abstract concept of selflessness and applying it to the most frustrating practical scenarios of daily life that, you listening might face.
Because we aren't just left with high-minded theory here. Xuefeng gives us a very concrete scenario. Imagine working with an extremely selfish person.
Oh man, yeah. We all know one.
Right. And the text states that if you calculate your own gains and losses in this dynamic, you will be infuriated.
Infuriated is the right word.
You will find it very difficult to get along with them, and you will face a lot of vexing situations.
But the reason why you are infuriated is the real gut punch here. The struggle is difficult because you also have a self. You are also being selfish.
It's a hard pill to swallow. When two egos collide, there is friction. Your coworker wants the credit, but you also want the credit.
They want the easy tasks, but you also want the easy tasks.
Exactly. The suffering you experience isn't just because they are selfish. It's because your own self feels threatened and deprived.
Okay, but the proposed solution is radical.
It is.
The text says, To achieve selflessness, satisfy the selfish person's every desire and give all benefits to them. Then, cooperation becomes easy and the atmosphere harmonious.
Yes, that is the solution offered.
Okay, I'm going to channel everyone listening right now.
Yeah.
Wait a minute. Give them all the benefits. Satisfy their every desire. That just makes me a total doormat.
It really sounds like it, doesn't it?
How do I actually do that in the moment? When they steal my credit, my blood pressure physically spikes. How do I turn that off so I'm doing all the work while the selfish guy gets the promotion?
It sounds like a recipe for being taken advantage of, totally. But that's if you look at it through the lens of a conventional career trajectory.
Right.
The key is understanding how this philosophy redefines what a benefit actually is. To the ego, a benefit is a promotion, praise, money, or, an easier workload.
Which are all things we usually want.
Right. Your blood pressure spikes because your ego believes it needs those things to survive and be validated. But if you have achieved selflessness, you no longer desire those things in the same way.
Because the self that craves the promotion is gone.
Exactly.
So, if I'm not getting the promotion or the credit, what am I getting?
Shuifeng argues that you are getting inner peace and the joy of the work itself. By investing yourself in any task with self-forgetfulness, you find endless joy and achieve remarkable results.
Oh, I see.
The suffering, the anger, the feeling of being a doormat, all of those are emotions generated entirely by the ego. If you remove the ego, you remove the suffering.
Wow.
In fact, there is a profound observation made in the text here. With a sense of self, even eating and sleeping become burdens, and lying flat is also suffering.
Lying flat is also suffering. That's so true. When your ego is active, when you are stressed about your status or your regrets, you can be lying on a comfortable couch doing absolutely nothing, and you are in absolute agony.
Yeah, your brain is just spinning.
The suffering comes from inside the house.
To really hammer this point home, the essay brings up a second, incredibly challenging scenario. Caring long-term for a patient who cannot take care of themselves and is totally unreasonable.
Oh, wow. Think of the emotional and physical toll that takes on a person.
Right. The text says if you have a self you couldn't bear for 3 days. The resentment, the exhaustion, the feeling of, why is my life being consumed by this, would just destroy you.
Because your ego is constantly mourning the loss of your own freedom in your own time.
Precisely. But without a self, you aren't annoyed. Instead, the essay says you appreciate a different kind of scenery in this world.
You simply do the caretaking as an act of pure presence.
Yes. Without the narrative of how unfair it is to you, the physical action of cleaning and caring remains exactly the same, but the internal experience is completely transformed.
So suffering is clearly created by our own judgments. It's our self-attaching meaning, and usually negative meaning, to situations. To prove just how powerful this mental barrier is, the text has this visceral, extreme thought experiment. But before we get to the specific example used, consider this analogy.
Okay.
Imagine you go to a really nice restaurant, and the chef comes out and serves you a bowl of the most delicious, rich soup. But he serves it to you in a brand new, fresh from the pet store, never before used dog bowl.
Oh, interesting.
Logically, your rational brain knows that plastic bowl is perfectly clean. It has never seen a dog. But your emotional brain, your ego, screams, "No, I am a human. I do not eat out of a dog bowl."
Yeah, that completely illustrates the concept of form. Now apply that to the ultimate test presented in the text.
Right, the toilet water test.
Yes, Shuifeng asks these questions directly.
Mm.
Would you clean toilets every day? Would you dare to use the water from a clean toilet to wash your face and brush your teeth?
It provokes an immediate physical rejection. Like, I would happily wash my face with bathroom tap water, but I would rather die than wash my face with toilet water.
But let's break down the logic of why that rejection happens. Objectively speaking, the text argues there is no essential difference between sweeping the emperor's seat, which is a highly esteemed task, and cleaning a toilet.
Okay.
Furthermore, the water sitting in the bowl of a clean, freshly scrubbed toilet is exactly the same H2O as the water flowing from your bathroom tap.
Logically, yes, but the feeling is entirely different.
But the reason it feels different is not due to the water quality, but because of the presence of the self. The ego attaches a concept, a status, a form to the toilet.
Because the toilet is low.
Right. The toilet is dirty
Yeah.
by definition, even if it's just been sterilized. The tap is clean. The emperor's seat is high. These are entirely mental constructs. Having form, the essay says, is due to having a self.
Meaning the only reason we see the world in these rigid categories of good and bad, high and low, clean and dirty is because our ego needs those categories to define its own position.
Yes.
Like if I eat from a dog bowl, my status is lowered. If I wash with toilet water, my dignity is compromised. It's all about protecting the self.
But if you completely extinguish the self, the dog bowl is just a concave piece of plastic holding nutrients. The toilet water is just H2O.
The forms just dissolve.
They dissolve entirely. You interact with the raw reality of the universe rather than the heavily edited, ego-driven movie playing in your head.
Which brings us to the ultimate question. What does life actually look like if we manage to do this?
Right.
If we can successfully strip away these forms, let go of the dog bowl and toilet water prejudices, and drop our ego at work when dealing with that selfish coworker, what is that life?
The essay concludes with a stark choice of realms presented as these rapid-fire contrasts.
Run through those for us.
Okay, so with a self, life is a cruel competition and battle. Without a self, life is an interesting journey.
Wow.
With a self, everything appears as a struggle for profit. Without a self, everything appears as a fun game.
It says with the self, there are thorns and traps everywhere, with constant danger. You're always defensive. But without a self, there are clear skies and bright prospects everywhere. You move from the lower realms of life toward the higher realms.
It's the difference between feeling like you have to conquer the world versus realizing you are simply playing in it.
That's a beautiful way to put it. There is one last line in the text, though, that is a bit of a stumbling block.
Oh, which one?
It concludes by saying, with a self, one looks up at the world. Without a self, one looks down on the world.
Yes.
What does looking down mean here? It sounds almost arrogant. Like, doesn't that contradict the entire idea of selflessness? How can you be selfless and look down on everyone?
It absolutely sounds like a contradiction if we interpret looking down as an attitude of superiority or arrogance.
Right.
But remember, arrogance requires an ego. Arrogance is the self. In this context, looking down isn't about looking down your nose at other people. It's about altitude.
Altitude. Like having a bird's eye view.
Exactly that. When you have a self, you are trapped in the maze. You are at the bottom, looking up at insurmountable struggles, towering obstacles, and a world that feels overwhelmingly large and dangerous.
You are constantly striving upward, fighting for profit and status.
But when you achieve selflessness, you transcend the maze. You rise above it into that Elysium world. From that transcendent, detached perspective, you are looking down on the world not with disdain, but with clarity.
Oh, you see the whole board.
Yes, you see that the cruel competition was just an illusion created by the ego, and from this higher realm, you can see it's all just an interesting game.
That makes so much more sense. So the core lesson we can pull for you listening from this deep dive is really a profound shift in perspective.
Absolutely.
The next time you feel infuriated by a selfish coworker who takes credit for your presentation, or you feel exhausted and burdened by the mundane, repetitive tasks of taking care of your home or your family, stop and ask yourself a question.
What's the question?
Is the task itself actually the problem? Or is yourself, your ego, your desire for fairness, your need for recognition getting in the way and creating the friction?
It's a powerful tool for self-reflection. And I want to leave you with a final lingering question to ponder that builds on Sui-Feng's philosophy but pushes it just a step further.
Okay, let's hear it.
We've established that the ego causes suffering, and losing the ego brings peace. But if total selflessness means completely losing our personal desires, our boundaries, and our calculations just to achieve this peaceful Elysium world,
Yeah.
is there a risk that in curing all our suffering, we might also erase the very friction and personal striving that gives our individual human story its unique shape?
Does the cure also erase the patient? That is an incredible thought to end on, because whether you're chasing the spiritual light of a Nobel Prize or just trying to navigate a frustrating Tuesday office meeting, we are all constantly negotiating the space between who we are and who we need to become to find peace. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. Keep questioning the world around you, keep exploring, and remember, the next time you're tossing and turning in bed, maybe the best way to find sleep is to stop looking for it. Catch you next time.